My first product was an information product called Computer Zen. And that was what led to Simplero, because I was teaching people how to do online marketing. And the whole idea was to make the Zen part was like to make it go with the flow, make it easy, work with the computer, or allow the computer and the software to work with you. And the feedback that I got consistently, especially from female customers, was that it was empowering for them. It like got them over this hurdle and this fear of the technology to actually start to play around with it and try some things. And they found out that it was easy and fun, and they felt like this rush of empowerment over, oh my God, I can do this and I can play around. It becomes fun instead of becoming scary and daunting. So that's one of the things that I really love.
Welcome to Jane Jackson Careers, a podcast that takes your career to the next level. Here's your host, Jane Jackson, author of Amazon Careers bestseller, Navigating Career Crossroads.
Welcome back to my Careers podcast, where I interview fascinating professionals who've made amazing career changes or are leaders in their field, or have also transitioned into entrepreneurship. And so today I'm very lucky to have with me Calvin Correli, who is the CEO of Simplero, the information business that incorporates absolutely everything you need to create your own fully functional commercial website with integrations including a membership site, product sales, email marketing, automations, and affiliate tracking. How good is that? Now, Calvin is a serial entrepreneur with a strong IT background and a passion for business and life coaching. From his early days as a software engineer to senior developer and chief UI architect, Calvin is now following his passion to help entrepreneurs follow theirs. Let's find out more about this talented man who created Simplero, and Simplero definitely has got me hooked. So welcome, Calvin.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to meet you, Jane. Yeah, thank you for getting up early for me. It's I'm in New York City, so it's a little after 6 here.
Okay, so you've had a long day, but let's find out all about.
I had to get up early this morning for another interview with someone in the UK. So
you're definitely getting out there. You know what's so interesting is that Simplero was recommended to me as a great site because I was looking for something that did everything, and I didn't know anything about you, but I looked on Simplero and I thought, this is amazing. It's just what I need, because I wanted a membership site and I've got online products to sell and everything. When I started using it, it was so easy. And so I thought, who created this? And I found you. So now I know you've had an interesting career journey and you've made a few career detours and changes as well. So how about, to kick off this podcast interview, tell us a little bit about your early days when you were a little boy. What were your career aspirations? What did you want to be?
Right. That's a good question. Well, I mean, thank you for those kind words about Simplero. I love hearing, and I know the rest of the team loves hearing people say that they like it and it's easy and it's fun. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for having me. I mean, when I was into computers very early. I was born in 1974, and my parents were programmers. Both of my parents were actually programmers back then. I think they started out at a time when there was all of 5 computers in the entire country of Denmark, where I'm from, which is amazing. They had to sleep in sleeping bags because they had computer time at like 3 a.m. and then get up and punch cards and stuff. It was a completely different time right now. Wow. I have a computer on my arm that's like a million times more powerful than what they were working with back then. It's just insane how it's changed. And so my parents, especially my dad, taught me programming from a young age, and we had computers in my home from like as early as I can remember. So I got into that very early, but I think my aspirations and my dreams as a kid were more along like big world scale problems like pollution and chemistry and things like that. My mom was actually a chemical engineer, and then one of her classmates were into her brother was into computers and started one of the first software companies in Denmark. And so she got into computers that way. But it wasn't super concrete when I was a kid, but it was like definitely I remember having this vision for how we could somehow use chemistry to clean things that needed to be clean or whatever. Maybe I should look into that and global warming and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because obviously you had a passion for the environment, trying to get rid of pollution or do something that sounds like you wanted to do something that made a difference.
Exactly, like big world scale problems, and like finding the simple and elegant solutions that were like that exact surgical cut that just made the right difference. That's always been what I've been looking for. I hadn't thought about that.
We might actually draw more out. I am a career coach after all, so I like to help people find and follow their true passion and direction. So if that's something that's deep inside you, interesting to go back to maybe your original roots one day. Look, you're so busy, Calvin. You've got so many things on at the moment, but you've had an interesting journey. So you wanted to. Were you thinking about changing the world when you were little? Somehow, not quite sure. Very, very strong IT influence, or computers, as they said in those days as well. Yes. And so, what happened? So you finished high school, and then what happened?
I was always writing software for myself and for my parents. My mom started a software company, then grew that to like a market leading thing in Denmark. They basically made the Microsoft Office product for the Danish and Scandinavian market for DOS before Windows. We were very successful with that. Yeah. And my dad had a company selling shop fitting for gas stations, which is a fascinating market because it's like you've got cars and you've got like petrol or gas, and then you've got the shops that need to, that sell candy or whatever to people who are getting gas. And so he made the metal and wood shop fitting for that. It was like 150 people operation, also quite successful. And I'd start writing software for both of those companies. So I wrote the software that managed my dad's production of wooden furniture. So like, I forget what they're called, those kinds of software, ERP or something, enterprise resource planning or something like that. And for my mom, I would be like a consultant writing software for customers. And I definitely enjoyed that. But actually, my dream at that time was to be a jazz pianist. I wanted to be a musician. So I guess everything was centered around the keyboard in one way or another, And then I did that, and I pursued that, and got like reasonably far at a young age. But then I realized that everybody that I knew in the jazz world, they were making their money teaching music. And that was just not appealing to me. It was like, nah, that's not how I want to make a living. So I decided to pursue my other passion in computers more and start to do that. And pretty early on, I'm trying to think back here. So I started just working. That was when I started to work for my mom's software company at that time. And then I started to study computer science and kind of go that way. And then I got my first kind of outside the family real job, and actually the only kind of real job I've ever held was for a software company here in America in 1999 that was called Urs Digita. And that's kind of when I really learned how skilled I was in the computer stuff. I had no idea before that.
Really? So, I guess you were thinking you were helping the family out, and you didn't realize that the skills that you've learned or you absorbed from your parents in a way, and then taking it to the next level with all the studies that you did, you must just naturally just get it.
I never really had much to compare it to. I mean, I studied computer science, but I didn't. I always felt like a little bit of an outsider in the computer science world. Like in my free time, I would rarely hang out with any of my classmates. I'd hang out with people who were studying biology or literature or humanistics. So I've always had that kind of weird split where I really dig the very nerdy stuff and the computers and writing code and all that stuff. But I'm not like, I have this other side that's very kind of people oriented, and the same like surgical, like what's really like, what is this simple, elegant thing? I apply that when I do coaching with people. It's the same kind of like, what is or just like figuring out how the human consciousness works or the psychology works and all these things. It's
it's so fascinating, isn't it? I mean, you're a coach, I'm a coach, and that's one side that I'm really fascinated about as well. But I don't have the brilliant technical side, so that's where I need help. And people like you who create amazing technical stuff that I can use so easily, because honestly, I'm just, when it comes to technology, I'm such a dummy, but I love playing with it, but it needs to be simple. And so anyway, before I start talking about simple.
You know what? It's so funny because like when I started to do this kind of thing, my first product was an information product called Computer Zen. And that was what led to Simplero, because I was teaching people how to do online marketing, and the whole idea was to make the Zen part was like to make it go with the flow, make it easy, work with the computer, or allow the computer and the software to work with you. And the feedback that I got consistently, especially from female customers, was that it was empowering for them. It like got them over this hurdle and this fear of the technology to actually start to play around with it and try some things. And they found out that it was easy and fun, and they felt like this rush of empowerment over, oh my God, I can do this and I can play around. It becomes fun instead of becoming scary and daunting. So that's one of the things that I really love doing.
Yeah. Well, I think you tapped into a market there for sure, because certainly for me, I mean, what you're saying, it's exactly right. When I started playing around thinking, oh, I don't know how to create a website. I don't know how to do this. I don't understand HTML. And I would Google and try and find what a specific HTML code would be to put a space, in WordPress or something. And then I'd do something and then I'd completely ruin the page. And I thought, oh, this is just too hard. I'm never going to be able to do it. And I'll always have to pay someone else to do it for me. But with what you've created, it makes such a difference. But before we talk about Simplero, I want to find out more about your career journey, because it's so interesting. So jazz pianist, as well as all of the IT and the computer and the programming side of things. But then tell me about Calvin the coach.
Yeah, well, that happened. So it happened, I'd say, about 10 years ago. I had my daughter in 2005, and kind of a year or so after that, I just had this big meltdown where I was like, I'm totally not where I want to be in my life. I'm not in the geography that I want to be in my life. I was back in Copenhagen. I moved to New York in 99, and then the plan was always to just be temporarily back in Copenhagen, but then it, like, 1 year took the next, and I was just so depressed about everything. And so I finally broke down and hired a coach. It's kind of weird, because the job I had in the US in 2000, 2001, that period, my company actually hired a coach for me and 15 others. And I loved it. I loved working with a coach and finally kind of getting some input. I'd always been curious and interested in this kind of stuff, but I'd kind of at an arm's length, because I had this belief that if you needed too much help there, it meant that you were broken somehow. And I wouldn't admit that I was broken. Of course, I'm completely broken. I'm one big flaw walking around, and I'm happy with that, but I was scared of it back then. And then, so in 2007, I just had this like point where I was like, all right, I give up. I am broken. I am flawed. I am done. Let me hire a coach. And then she kind of led me to realize that maybe I had some skills in that area too. I was convinced that I was not a people person. I was good at interacting with computers, and that was it. And I should stick with computers and not people. And she was like, no, you could totally be a coach. I could really see that in you. And I was like, well, sure. And so I took the coaching education, and then, started to work with a spiritual teacher in Encinitas, so like 9 time zones apart. And that was it really opened so many doors in me. First, kind of the coaching aspect, which is, I feel like, at a mental level, and then opening up to that deeper spiritual level was amazing.
Yeah, it's really empowering, isn't it? When you just let yourself open up and accept what will be, and being very open and curious as to, I don't know. Let's see what what will come, and just being open to it.
I don't know. I love that place.
Yeah, me too. It's so interesting because, like you probably feel the same when you're coaching with someone. And even though I focus a lot on careers, so often people are in transition. And when you're in transition, you don't know. And you don't know what you don't know. And the more you find out that you don't know stuff, the more interesting it is, because then you start to let go of all the preconceived ideas and then start to explore the world of possibilities. And I really believe that if you give everything a little bit of a go, or find out as much as you can, then you can consciously make the right decisions for yourself. And I don't know what methodology you use. I tend to use the head, heart, gut coaching methodology, because usually we're stuck between our head and our heart. We never make a decision. But as soon as you go back down into your intuition, which is your gut, you can never go wrong, because you're following your values. Yeah.
And it's fascinating how like the I don't know is what opens up for that deeper place where you actually do know.
Because I think we all have it within us, don't we?
Yeah.
And so
the knowing happens when you're not trying to make it happen, right?
And so now, because I know you've got Simplero, which is obviously a fabulous business, and you're obviously so passionate about coaching, how do you balance your time between the two? Because they're so very different.
Well, to be honest, these days I don't really do much coaching, or actually any at all. So it's kind of an on and off thing for me, but I use that part of myself in everything that I do, right? So in running the company and the team, obviously in the videos and the content and the writing and the newsletters and all of these things. And so, but actually sitting down one-on-one with people, I tend to not do a lot these days. Sometimes I pick it back up and I take a client or two in, because I enjoy it, and it's kind of a form of meditation. But these days I'm not doing it, but I'm using everything I've learned and all the tools.
Yeah. Well, I think you must be so very, very busy with Simplero. But there's one thing I really want to talk about Simplero, because since I've discovered it, it's just changed my life, Calvin, changed my life. It's just so amazing. It's made everything so easy. But one thing I noticed was, very often when you purchase a software or you're doing something and then customer support is not always there, or it's not very quick. What I noticed with yours was that you're so personable in the way that you explain everything within your site. And you've even got this thing where if you really urgently need help, you can send me a tweet. Doesn't matter what time it is at night. I might be sleeping, but as soon as I wake up, I'll get back to you. And I thought, what is he saying? He's never going to sleep. He's going to get tweets and emails and all sorts of things, because people globally are going to have, like questions for you when they're setting up their websites. But that's what really impressed me. And then as I started setting up, it was so easy. I feel like I'm a web developer now, but because I've created some amazing things. But when I did have a question, I would send it via your support links, and people would get back to me within half an hour. Or sometimes even sooner. And I think, where are these people based? Are they in America? Where are they in the world? But I'm in Sydney, so, the time zone's different, really so different from the rest of the world. But I would still get responses so quickly. And because of that, I was able to set up the front page and some of the other pages of the site, which I'm soon to launch, so very, very easily. It's a beautiful, very Zen-like, just working with it, because it all works so well. But I don't want to wax lyrical about it. I want you to tell me, how did you come up with the Simplero concept, and tell people how it works?
Yeah, well, I love to hear you wax lyrical about it.
Yeah, well, it's only because it's made my life easy. Yeah, and I like easy. So there you go.
I'm super stoked to hear you say that about your experience with the support. It's something that matters deeply to me. In the fingerprint analysis system of Richard Unger, I'm in School of Service, which just giving good service and receiving good service means everything to me. And so we have. We're a small team. We're just like 5 people, and we have people in Denmark and people on the West Coast, and I'm in New York. So we span like 9 time zones. So we're fairly well covered there, and everybody's just like doing really, really well and working really well as a team. And we've got like we will fix whatever like bugs or technical issues or whatever, we'll like usually fix them right away. I mean, if they're like feature requests is another story that I might say, but like, we just really enjoy having that very, very tight and fast feedback loop with our customers. It's what we enjoy the most about it. So I'm super glad to hear that it's working out.
Actually, can I add one more thing? What I was so impressed with was I had some suggestions just for like a design change, because I wanted the look of my homepage initially up at the top to have a larger logo, and it didn't have the facility to increase the size of the logo. And so I just put in the suggestion, and one of your support team go, good idea. Let me work on it. I'll get back to you in about 2 or 3 days. In 2 or 3 days, bang, done. You can increase the logo size right up at the top. And I thought, now that really is great service. And I think, I guess getting suggestions from your users as well, then this is what people want.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
We love that.
So good. So good. Yeah. And one thing I have to say is I love this concept that you allow someone to create the entire website and, play around with it and move things around and get it so it's looking perfect before they need to actually pay to make it go live. Yeah. And I think that's so good. So it's almost like try before you buy. But once you try, you're never going to go anywhere else. Well, certainly I'm not. So carry on. So you've got a great team of 5 across the US and in Denmark. Yes. And then, how did you come up with this idea of something that incorporates so many features?
Yeah, well, that was easy because I needed it, right, for myself. I had this. I started working with the spiritual teacher that I mentioned. His name was Bruce back then, but now he changed his name as well, which is something we do, I guess. Okay. I changed mine too. But his name is Bodhi now, and he's a great guy. He's also a customer actually on Simplero these days. But after learning so much from him, it's basically about being present, about noticing my thinking, about like intuition and these like fundamental things. I was like, this is what, like, not just I needed this stuff, but I know so many entrepreneurs who need this. Like they're struggling with whatever, with their business, and they need these tools. So I was like, I need to teach this stuff to other people. And being a programmer, I didn't know anything about this stuff. And so I started to look at like, how do I put on a workshop or a seminar, and how do I market it, and how are these things done? And that's when I discovered this whole online course world and on like information marketing, as they call it. And that was in 2008. And so I was like, this is amazing, and this makes perfect sense. It's like the perfect fit, right, for my particular passions and skill set. There's the tech side, and there's the business and entrepreneurial side, and there is the kind of the coaching and psychology and spirituality side. So I was like, all right, let me start doing. So I started to put out courses using other tools like Shopify and Aweber and Ning and things like that. Ning doesn't exist anymore, but the others do. And I was like, that's great. But like with Shopify, for example, people could buy 2 copies of a course or a PDF, which normally is not what they want. Like don't buy 2 copies of a PDF usually, right? And the whole shopping cart phenomenon was not useful here. Plus, I wanted to be able to sell in installments, which they couldn't do. So I was like, let me build my own billing piece, and then we can then connect people with the other things and whatever. And then I was like, let me do my own email. I didn't like how Aweber did things, so let me make my own email system. And then we did that. And then let me do my own membership site piece, because I don't like how they're doing that. And so it just grew from there. And then eventually, like a couple of years in, more like a year in, other people started to be like, hey, can I use it too? Can I use it too? And then sure, I might charge you at some point, but you can absolutely use it. And then, that's how we get started.
Yeah. It's so good to have a like something that's so integrated with everything, because over the past couple of years, I've just been looking for, like this solution and that solution, and maybe I need a shopping cart, and should I have a membership site, and I want to add my podcasts in there, but how am I going to sell them? And then I have separate email marketing, and I've just got separate everything, separate lead pages, separate email marketing, separate website, and I was getting so confused. Mm-hmm. And so now being able to integrate everything all into one, and really it's like a one-stop shop. Just about, I mean, I can run my entire business off all of the facilities that you have. And because now I've got online products, I've got my book and all of that sort of stuff, I can just throw it all into the one website, which is great. I can still have my other old website, which is still working and ranking well. But now this whole membership site solution is fantastic. So easy. So thank you, Calvin, for creating this really useful site. And I don't normally wax lyrical, so like a mad person as I'm doing now. But it's because, when you find something that's really good, you just want to tell everybody because it's going to benefit others as well. And so, much as I'd love to keep it a secret and all for myself, I know that it's going to really help so many people that I coach who might be transitioning into entrepreneurship, or other entrepreneurs who want to be able to create something that's simple, that works, and you can talk to someone when you have a tech issue. Yeah. Oh, thank you. So tell me, Calvin, if people, now I can talk to you all day, but I know that it's getting late in New York now. But so tell me, where can people find you?
They can find me, well, there's Simplero.com, obviously, for Simplero. And we have this, as you mentioned, that you can sign up for a free trial and keep it for as long as you want. Because I always dislike that too with like other software. Then there's like a 2-week or a 30-day trial, and then you're like on a clock too, and then it holds you off from actually signing up for it and checking it out because you're like, oh, then the clock starts ticking, right? So we do that, and there's the newsletters too that people tend to really enjoy. And then there's my personal site at calvincorreli.com. And I have a newsletter there as well.
And you've got YouTube videos. So don't forget to tell them about your YouTube channel as well, because you have a lot of coaching advice and inspiration.
But the videos are on YouTube, are on my personal site as well, on calvincorreli.com. So
wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'll have all of your links on my show notes on janejacksoncoach.com. But before I let you go, though, I want you to tell me what would you consider to be your top 3 tips for success?
All right, here we go. Putting me on the spot, aren't you?
Yes. I know I love doing this because it makes people think, and then I think, okay, now I get the real response. So what's made you successful? What would you say 3 things that work well for you?
Right. Well, so number 1 is to allow yourself to be genuinely curious about yourself, like who you are, and just forget what other people like or don't like or approve of or don't approve of, or whether you're like others or not. Just dig in there and figure out who you are. That was a big one for me, of just not knowing who I was. I was just convinced that I didn't like whatever it was, even though I didn't really know it. Let me see. Try stuff. Just try things, and what's the worst that can happen? You might end up looking silly. You might end up wasting some time or some money or whatever. Who gives a bleep? It doesn't matter in the end. Cool. Well, I was going to say, don't. There's no need to play small, right? Because I think that's a very Denmark, the law of Jente thing. But can I lump that in with the number 1? Because then number 3 would be have fun. Just really enjoy it. It. This is not serious stuff. None of this is serious. We're just playing around.
And we're only here for a finite amount of time as well. And so while we're here, we really need to enjoy. I really like that. Be yourself. Always try new things and have fun. I mean, that really, the meaning of life. There you go. And because otherwise, I think too many of us get too stressed about stuff and take it all so seriously. And it's like, oh, we got to amass great wealth, or we need to become super, super famous, or we want to do something. But I reckon, and I think you probably have a similar philosophy, it's that if you're of service to people, and you're here and you make life easier, even just for one person, I think that really is truly rewarding, isn't it? Just making a little bit of a difference, like putting a little bit of a dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs said, is a nice thing, isn't it?
Yeah. building connections, meeting people like you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And it doesn't matter. In geography, I mean, this is where the technology is so good, because geography doesn't matter anymore. And I love working remotely. And it's like, because, we're using Zoom and I'm looking you in the face and it looks like you're just sitting across and we're having a coffee together. Yeah. It's really, it's quite magic, isn't it?
How do I know you're not a robot? You're really just pixels on my screen, aren't you?
Well, I could be, you never know. Or else maybe I could hologram myself over to New York. Actually, what's really interesting, one of my friends, she was in Boston doing a training course. This is completely as an aside, but she said the training course was phenomenal because she was in a room with a lot of other people learning, but the trainer was over in, I think it was in Los Angeles, and he was a hologram. And she said, so he was standing there, he had to stand, sort of in a circle area because of, I don't know how holograms work. But she said, you almost felt like you could reach out and touch him, but there was just a little bit of light around him to remind you that, yes, he was a hologram. But she said it was phenomenal. It was so good because it was 3-dimensional. And that's something that I would just love to experience. Very interesting. Can you create something like that, Calvin?
No. Well, probably. I've never looked into it.
One day. Remember, don't ever say never. You never know.
But it sounds like someone has already done that. That's not.
I know, but you can do something differently.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. But anyway, that was just an interesting thing. Thank you so much. What parting thoughts?
I think on that note, just make something that you want to make, that you think should exist in the world. Like, be part of making something that you would like to see exist in the world.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Calvin. I really appreciate you sharing your ideas, and thank you for creating Simplero. And I hope to have you back on the show again, maybe in about 6 to 8 months, and let me know how things have grown.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And thank you so much to you for having me, and thank you to your audience for watching and listening.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much, Calvin. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that wonderful conversation with Calvin Correli. He really is an amazing man. If you're interested in setting up your own website using Simplero, just go to janejacksoncoach.com/Simplero, and you'll be able to try out setting up your own website for free. It really is fun. I had so much fun creating something myself as well. So go and give it a go. janejacksoncoach.com/Simplero.
You've been listening to Jane Jackson Careers. Sign up to receive regular career advice at janejacksoncoach.com.